several clergy in Russia.
So was the Pope appealing for peace, or was he praying for peace?
And the same applies to the Kaliningrad.
Yeah, that's a good question. So what do you have to say about that, guys? Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome particularly to the first show of 2023. So a happy new year. As you know, we've got a panel of wise and witty people giving their views on the religious news that's happened recently. And today we have Guy Otten from Manchester. Hello, Guy.
Hello.
D.P. Higgs, Dread Pirate Higgs, with his dog. It's the ship's dog, I guess, from British Columbia. David Orenstein from Manhattan, New York. Hello. And Dr. Guy Wells from Tennessee. Welcome, guys.
Hey, good to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Great. Okay, so diving straight in, because I know some of you have to dash off. First item. Over 1,000 American, USA, faith leaders called for a Christmas ceasefire in Ukraine. The leaders, who represent a broad range of faiths, said they hoped a temporary truce could lead to the negotiation of a permanent peace. What they were trying to do here was mimic the 1914 Christmas event that happened in the First World War, where allegedly everybody stopped fighting and started playing football in the no man's land between the front lines.
And it only took 3 years after that for the war to end.
Yes, indeed. Yes. I don't need to tell you that their call for a temporary truce, well, no truce occurred. And then, of course, because the Christians can't agree when Christmas actually is,
right.
More recently, Russian President Putin has also called for a truce over the Orthodox Christian Christmas, which is actually this weekend. So, and no truce has happened this weekend either. So what does that tell us about the influence of religious leaders and the contradiction of different dates and all that sort of nonsense? Let me hear what you've got to say.
It's going to mean that God's going to be very, very angry because he had his best friends say, don't do this with your guns, and they did this with their guns anyway. So God's going to be very angry with them. He'll let them kill each other, but afterwards he's totally going to rectify it.
I don't know if you recall, Ty, and maybe John remembers as well, that I started a thing called World Truce, which was to occur in November as a secular effort to, appeal to the world leaders, especially at I can't remember what's the big thing called. Not WHO, it's NATO, or not NATO, the other one, the big one. Anyway,
United Nations.
Yeah. United Nations, that's the one. But I couldn't get so many as 100 people to actually sign the petition to go ahead and write their individual ambassadors to make it happen. So, it really starts at home. If you're going to encourage world peace, you really got to get behind it, everybody.
Right.
Yeah. Anybody else?
The problem from the Ukrainian point of view of any kind of ceasefire is that it really is kind of accepting that the Russians should keep what they've got. And so I understand the logic of saying, no, get out of our country and then we'll have a ceasefire coming.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because, what Putin basically used this as a PR to say, look how morally corrupt the Ukrainians are. I offered them a ceasefire and they didn't accept it. And of course, the Ukrainians shot back. Well, he just wants 5 minutes of us not shooting at him so he can bolster his forces for after the Orthodox Christmas, when he'll continue his country's war crimes. So,
well, and you have to remember too that Napoleon and Hitler both had issues with invading, that general area in the middle of winter. It didn't fare well for anyone, and so obviously it would be in his own best interest and in the interest of the morale of his troops to not be fighting in the middle of winter. That's just crazy.
Because it's as much the winter as it is logistics.
Well, yeah, of course it is.
Yeah. Well, from the point of view of us atheists, I think the message that comes home is there is no firm consensus about the date of Christmas.
Right.
And whatever the faith leaders say, whether they're, backed by the president of this or the president of that, nobody takes a great deal of notice.
I did want to make a note. You did say us atheists. When I'm getting ready to go play, I'm getting ready to go play disc golf, and whenever I have this hat on or my mindset on, I am officially Pacifarian. Just want to let you know that.
Thank
and
you
I'm
for
not alone
jumping
on
in
this
before
channel.
I had a chance to.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Just saying, hey, watch yourself. Watch your privilege, John Richards.
I'd also suggest, and this is something that the Russian invasion was blessed by the Orthodox Church as well. So it's not like there aren't blood on their hands as well.
Indeed. Kirill. Yeah, the leader of the Orthodox Russian Church. Kirill. Yeah, patriarch.
I hope he'll be arrested for war crimes as well.
I hope so. Yeah. So, moving over to Afghanistan, I'm sure you want to hear about what they have been getting up to over the holiday season. The Taliban, they have banned women from universities. And
oh, no. Well,
this has sparked international condemnation and despair amongst the young in the country. And of course, this comes on top of having previously banned women from school, or girls from school. So they're going back to the regime standards that they had the last time they were in power. Nobody's surprised. This caused protests on the streets in Kabul. Women came out, and the Afghanistan Women's Unity and Solidarity Group said, "Today we come out on the streets of Kabul to raise our voices against the closure of the girls' universities." The Taliban then arrested 5 women and 3 journalists.
I want to throw something out. It seems like if you have a big group, especially one that has a lot of authority, if you're not picking on somebody, it's almost as if you don't exist, right? You're not doing your job. And I was thinking back on just like even the previous story. You have like the churches asking for a ceasefire. No one's listening to them. And that kind of makes them feel silly and useless. And as we atheists, including Pacifarians, myself and Dredd, are like, this is silly, isn't it? Like they're praying to something that doesn't exist and they're trying to posture like they still have political power. But like, what about the United Nations? What about like these larger international groups that are clearly seeing war crimes being occurring but can't do anything because they really don't have as much power as they thought they had? So like we can joke at stuff like that, and we can point at examples of like weak authoritarianism, but then you have the same situation with like Taliban, where it's like if they were just sitting quiet and not doing anything all day long, people would be like, "Oh, they're going kind of soft. Let's do some progressive movements. Maybe we should let women vote or stuff like that." So Taliban's gonna be like, "We still here? We're just gonna like do some terrible stuff. We're gonna say you have to wear this. You can't go to this school. I know it's gonna hurt us in the long term, but we got to do something because people got to respect us because we're running on fear. We gotta make sure we're still relevant." And I just feel like that's the power play I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, it's like misogynistic, 600 years strong.
Yeah, basically, like we gotta stick to our brand, guys. We can't lose it.
I mean, I think it is depressing to see these kind of medieval patriarchal
Yes, of
rules,
course.
appear and be enforced. And of course, they've stopped women working as well.
Exactly.
So,
Yes, I was going to come
the
on
whole
to
thing
that.
is, and they're really undermining their own economy, and their
Well-
economy is already in dire straits. So there's
It's
such
shocking.
large numbers of people who probably starve, and things like that. It's really
Exactly.
very
Yeah.
sad.
I was coming on to that, Guy, because Ty mentioned the United Nations. And of course, there's a lot of NGOs in Afghanistan who are currently trying to feed them, particularly the starving women and children. So what have the Taliban done? They have banned women working for non-governmental organizations. So they now can't distribute the food that they were previously able to do, because you can't get men involved in giving it out, because all that happens is it goes to their soldiers. It's got to be distributed by women in order to get it to the starving children. So what has happened? Well, 5 top non-governmental organizations have stopped working in Afghanistan. Care International, the Norwegian Refugee Council, Save the Children, the International Rescue Committee, Islamic Relief have all said they can't work under these conditions and we're stopping their work. How great is that?
It's another example of religion poisoning everything.
Absolutely.
You are
Good
going
point,
and
Sven.
just creating a humanitarian crisis.
It's a massive
for the
own
sake
goal
of
as well.
the- of the misgotten belief that somehow women are inferior and they don't hold the same place in your faith structure. And this is all it is.
Yeah.
And I'd say the only good thing about it is it's being documented more so clearly than ever before. Because you look back in medieval times, and religion seems like the best thing ever, but like you don't record the transgressions, only the victories and the great kings. Now everyone has a YouTube channel, everyone has perspective, everyone has Instagram. We have pictures, we have videos, and we can't just turn around and pretend like this was a great time for everybody.
Sure.
Like we have it now in 4K clarity
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
this is marginalized groups not being accurately represented or protected or covered by laws or stigmatized by them. And I think this is a good thing. It looks terrible, but this is the right reaction to have in the face of injustice. It's this displeasure, discomfort. And the fact that we're feeling that now is a good sign. I'm hoping we can turn that into corrective actions eventually.
This is important, like you say, because it was the religiously privileged that wrote the history books. And that's no longer the case. So, like you say, Ty, it's good that it's opened up and documented by people of all cultures and all faiths and all inclinations, so that it's not just one kind of people telling the story.
Right.
Yeah. Apart from the fact that it's difficult to get the internet in Afghanistan and places like that, it's democratized the world, hasn't it?
Yeah, sure it has. Yeah.
Okay. Well, as I said, this has caused distress amongst the residents of Afghanistan. Women can't go to school, can't go to university, can't work for NGOs. And the sad thing is that one poor 19-year-old girl whose hopes of going to university have just been damned, blocked, shredded, whatever adjective you want to use. She's made a little YouTube video, which I'm going to show you now. It's been subtitled, so we can't understand what she says, but see if you can read the subtext. Where have I put this? Here it is. Right, go.
خداوند از اینکه هیچ دختر اصل نمیکرد ما هیچ حرف نمیشنیم که بچه هاست هستیم من نمیفهمم بسیار زیاد ناراحت حتی از بودن خدای دنیا دیگه پشیمان هستیم کاش هیچ نمی بودیم در دنیا اصلا به وجود نمیم ما به اندازه یک حیوان در ملت ارزش نداریم حیوانات خودشان میتونن در واقع برن در راه خود ادامه بدن تا بخورن بنوشن ما اجازه شمیدن نداریم چرا
Yeah.
So God shouldn't have created women.
And the crazy thing, And I'll just put this on. The craziest thing is you had a problem, which is women are being sexually abused historically, and it's a cultural indictment that to say, you know what, it's not us as men in power to fix the problem. It's women who have to like put masks on and cover themselves up and just step out at the right times and have their fathers associated with them and not date, but we'll have arranged marriages for them. Like you fix the problem strictly from the bottom up and never from the top down.
Exactly.
And from an engineering perspective, you should always want to try to do both because that's the quickest way to penetrate into a problem, or else you just keep pushing the problem upwards, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
we look at a society like this and we're like, oh, that's terrible. And then I'm not to point too many fingers at America, but like America, you're doing the exact same thing. When you have abortion laws being dictated largely by 9 people, a majority of whom I think were currently men or very conservative, or laws made by a Senate that is predominantly white men, old landowners. You're not representing the democracy that you're ruling, and it leads to problems because again, you're only fixing problems from the bottom. You need to fix it from the top too. We look at Iran, we look at overseas as like this is a problem, but we should see that it's a template that's the problem, and we're following the same template. And if we keep trending on the same path that we're on right now, we're going to end up the exact same place because we know it can happen. So use it as a wake-up call.
Yeah. Not to go off topic, but there was a recent survey, and I can't remember who did it, but it showed that the U.S. Congress is more religious than American society is. Is religious.
Yeah.
Which goes to show you that when you're talking about people representing the people, they're clearly not doing the people's work. They're doing a segment of the people's work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Mm.
Well, I think it's still the case that of all the things that people would want least in a president is that a president be atheist. They'd just as soon he was an ex-murderer or whatever. I mean,
right?
Or a Satanist. You'd rather be a Satanist than
God.
an atheist.
This is a show for opinionated people, but I'd say probably there was no better atheistic president in terms of like genuinely not believing in God than Trump.
Yeah.
Because I can't even hold the Bible right side up.
Yeah.
But we have a Catholic.
But we don't want
president.
to claim him, though.
Exactly. We have a Catholic president who's absolutely believing, and I don't doubt that he believes it genuinely, but he's the one who supports abortion rights. He's the one who's fighting for it. So like in my head, it's not, I don't want an atheist president. I just want someone who's a fair president for the people that he's being a president for. And you can do it. And we have a good example of that now. So I don't care if you wear a turban or if you wear a hijab and you want to run for president. I'll still vote for you if you can do the job well. But it's a public service job. So be in the interests of the people, period.
Right.
Well said.
Here.
Absolutely.
I think that's good.
Well, we've got, while we're on the subject of Islamic revolutions, we've got one going on in Iran still, of course. And so far, 500 protesters, including 69 children, have been killed.
Bloody hell.
2 protesters were executed today. Executed for protesting on a sham trial basis. Last week, 2 others were, so that's 4 now that have been executed. And the women are the remarkable thing in Iran. The women are leading this protest under the slogan "Woman, Life, Freedom." But they're still getting pushback. It's been going 100 days now, this protest, but at the moment those in control don't seem to be cracking. They have just caused the family of Iranian football legend Ali Day, he's in Dubai at the moment. I think he was in part of the football contest. Yeah, but he's stayed on there and he's taking a holiday. And he wanted his wife and daughter to join him, but they were on a flight, but the flight was redirected, and it was landed on an Iranian island in the Gulf, and they were removed from the aircraft and sent back to Tehran. Meanwhile, several Iranian celebrities have supported the protest, leading to their arrests or necessary exile. And to make matters worse, piling atrocity on top of atrocity, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard forces are now using live fire and birdshot against the protesters, but many of the severely injured people are avoiding hospitals because reports have been circulating that if you turn up in an emergency room, you should be arrested.
Right.
So,
Now, the NHS ought to try that here. You know, that might reduce the waiting list.
oh, sick humor. So at the moment, it means that volunteers with little or no medical training are attempting to pull bullets out of people in their homes.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah. Talk about battlefield medicine, eh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Thanks.
think these Iranians are incredibly brave. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
incredibly brave. I just hope they win because,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks to Ty, we knew he had another appointment to go
Well,
off to.
you know, and I guess it's almost an equivalent to the suffragette movement in America in a way, right?
And in the UK, yeah.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Except that the
They're not taking
powers
off their
are-
bras; they're taking off their
Right.
hijabs and burqas
Right.
and niqabs and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. More power to their boobies. No, I didn't say that. Pope Francis. He's had a bit of a profile over the Christmas period, of course. He's been speaking in his year-end address to the Vatican department heads and cardinals that are based in Rome. And he came on and made a speech. I'll read a bit of it to you because it's quite amazing. Dear brothers and sisters, denouncing evil, even the one that lurks among us, is not enough. What we must do when we encounter it is choose conversion, to imprison the logic of evil. Christians must be vigilant because evil has a way of returning in a form more elegant and well-behaved than before. But it always returns. The devil, cast away, returns under a new guise, but he returns. We must be careful. What do you think of that?
Well, is he
I
speaking for
think-
himself?
Yeah, right. I mean, he's still a magician at the head of a circus,
Yeah.
of a three-ring circus of, zero moral authority related to the child sexual abuse, not allowing women to be priests, and a
abortion.
litany of financial non-disclosure and of violence and politicking here in the United States. That if you want to look at evil, don't look out the window, look in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
exactly
Yeah.
what I feel.
Yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah, I mean, he's also personifying evil,
Yes.
in the form of the devil, and I think that's another, it's a sort of absolutist idea, which isn't real. It's detached from reality. It's a fantasy, really.
Exactly. Yes,
And
that's
there
what
are-
That's
obviously, there is really bad people in the world and bad ideas and damaging thoughts and so forth and actions. But yeah,
Well, it's part and
The-
parcel, really,
the
to
sad
the
thing
whole
is,
genre, right?
um,
Religion is a fiction. Religion,
Yeah.
for the most part, is all fantasy. So
Yeah.
why would that be surprising?
well, exactly, it isn't. Yeah,
That's what I wanted to point out. The colourful language, denouncing evil, masked evil, the
Yeah.
logic of evil. Christians must be vigilant because the devil returns. I mean, it's
Fear
just
factor.
it's fairy tale stuff.
That'd make a great
It's-
reality TV show.
Yeah.
Finding the
Right.
Devil.
Yeah. And, the sad thing is I know an awful lot of people who, who are Christians, who are darn good, healthy, law-abiding, secular, good people. And what stymies me is the idea of that. There's the rank and file, and then there's this huge organization that has caused such pain in the world. And to keep that organization going, and not call it to account is just sickening.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he went on to say that he condemns human hunger for wealth and power.
Yeah. Wow.
I thought pot kettle.
Right. Exactly. What does he sleep in at night? Does he sleep in a manger?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, before we get too hit up over that, I'm going to take you to Pakistan, where some time ago a 5-year-old girl was forced into marriage. And the only good side of this is that an investigation has been ordered, because even they seem to think it's inappropriate.
They've got a line.
Yeah, I mean, the Prophet Muhammad married Aisha when she was 6, so clearly 5 is too young.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, really? So I'd like your comment on this next one, David, because you alerted me to it. The professor at Hamline University.
Oh, yes.
Private liberal arts college in St. Paul, Minnesota, up by the lake there. She, I think it's a she,
It's
was
a she,
fired.
it's a woman.
Yeah, she was fired for showing. She's teaching liberal arts to a class of students of religious iconography and imagery, and she showed an image of Muhammad. And unfortunately, apparently, his face was visible. Ooh, big no-no. And she was sacked, or you would say fired.
Yes. Well, she was, how it worked was, she's an adjunct, which means she has a temporary position.
Right.
And so although they had offered her a contract to come back next semester, they withdrew the contract. However, that's not the worst of it. The college president accused her of Islamophobia,
Of course.
even though she had written in her syllabus,
Yes.
we are going to show religious iconography of all religions. If
Yes.
you have an issue with this, let me know. She
Yeah.
said before she showed the photograph, because she was culturally sensitive, let me know if you want to skip the class.
Yeah.
No problem. No student said anything. It was only afterwards.
Sure.
And originally, her department chairperson supported her academic freedom. It would be the equivalent of me teaching anthropology, which I do every semester, and teaching evolution, being, insulting the religious sensibilities of a student and being accused of being anti whatever that person's religion is because I'm teaching the science of biology.
Yeah.
Well,
And you presumably would have been banned from showing the face of, who should we say, Lucy? Or
Right, exactly.
Right.
And also Pithecine or whatever.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that Islamic scholars have actually come to this professor's aid in saying, this is not an unusual image. It's not like a Charlie Hebdo image. It's an image from, was it the 13th century, that it's been used around the globe to teach about and to be used as part of curriculum. So it wasn't meant to offend anyone. It's like it was mentioned in the article, and I think it was a very good point, is that it's always, a lot of this is about intent, right? So like if you're a Muslim and you're out with somebody drinking a beer, if they're just drinking a beer, they're not Islamophobic just because they're drinking with you. If they're drinking with you because they know you're Muslim, or and doing it in your face like ha ha ha, that's very different. So this woman was just teaching her class.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
And she's been
interesting,
scapegoated.
isn't it interesting as well that if it's a class about, religious iconography, if the Jewish tradition, no graven image, right? So where are the Jews getting all upset and saying that she's, anti-Semitic? Where does it stop?
Exactly. Yeah.
If you're not allowed to show icons, you haven't got a syllabus.
Yeah.
Called iconography.
Yeah.
Right.
But it should be prized as part of Islamic history. And I mean, I think she's been a victim of overblown cancel culture here.
Oh, absolutely. In this case, absolutely.
It's overwoke.
And I hope she appeals.
Yeah. I mean, I worry about people throwing the woke moniker too much in this culture. But this is just somebody doing her job and being totally and to not and even after all of the information came out, for this college president to still not come to her aid. A lot of it has to do with the fact, and at least in the United States, and actually you guys I don't have anyone from the United States anymore, so I'll be the ugly American here. College, especially small colleges, are really suffering. They were suffering before the pandemic. They were, private, independent, small colleges they're becoming more and more extinct. So one of the things that they've done is try to diversify and be very inclusive and bring more students in. So that's not a bad thing, because diversity is wonderful, except then you get situations like this. So I think it's about economics for small colleges as much about woke culture, if you ask me.
Oh, yeah. It's not one single issue.
Yeah.
Okay. But one issue which is more up your street, DP, is what's been going on in Canada. In fact, you gave us a report to Global Atheist News, which I'm going to show now. So if you can bear to look at yourself, here it is.
Yes, thank you, John. Yes, there's a report that's come out of the Angus Reid Institute recently. There's an ongoing reflection on the content of the Bible against the values of contemporary society. Among Canadians who identify or grew up as Christian, there are few who deny the Bible is showing its age when it comes to its views on gender, sexuality, and race. More than half of Christian identifying or Christian-raised Canadians say the Bible is dated when it comes to gender politics, with 29% of that group of that group saying it is quite a lot or very much sexist. Thank you. Back to you, John.
How about that?
Very true. Very true. John.
What a handsome SOB you are.
You just have to look at, for instance, slavery is yet another one, and it's been out of date on slavery for a long time already now.
But what I thought was really interesting was the phrase "quite a lot." Like I don't know, Angus Reid. Maybe they're not up on grammar or something. Maybe 30% are not well schooled.
That's a bit of good news, isn't it? Finally, guys, I've got a rather curious item. It's about India, where villages often get their water from a tank. It's delivered and stored in a tank, and they come and get their water from it. And unfortunately, according to this story, a woman who's classed as untouchable. I think they're now called the Dalits, but they used to be known as untouchable caste. She did the horrific thing of drinking this water. And so they had to purify it afterwards to get rid of her taint. And do you know what they used?
Yes.
Something stupid.
Cow urine.
Cow what?
I think that is just fantastic. It's a double whammy.
They used
to
what?
think
Cow
that
urine?
Cow pee.
Urine.
Yeah. I figured urine was going to come in there somewhere.
The water. and then, of course, to take that view about untouchables is another moral outrage Hinduism. Now, what's interesting is that we're hoping in my atheist group in Manchester, we're hoping to have a Hindu speaker within the next few months. So we'll be asking her about this one.
Yeah. As far as I can tell, it's taking the piss about taking the piss.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, thank you very much. Your views have been noted and appreciated.
Cheers.
Take the rest of the day off. No, don't, because I want to talk to you afterwards.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Say bye-bye, everyone.
Nice seeing you guys.
Several clergy.
Was the Pope appealing for peace, or was he praying for peace?
And the same applies to the Kaliningrad.
Yeah, that's a good question. So what do you have to say about that guy?